Okay, the next question is, I know I want someone emotionally mature, but honestly, I'm not sure I know exactly what that looks like. What are the real signs of emotional maturity I should look for? What are the real signs of emotional maturity I should look for? Um, Kind of to piggyback on what I've said repeatedly over the years, is emotional maturity is that capacity to be self-aware. Now, to me, self-awareness is the capacity to recognize one's fears and insecurities and our negative judgments for others and how our actions affect others, our limiting beliefs, our negative patterns that give us pain. I think when we can understand ourselves from an objective point of view, more importantly, taking personal responsibility for when we get triggered by people, that's a great sign someone is capable of leaning in. So I think diving into our greatest fears around relationships might be one of the most important questions to ask someone. Can someone write that in the chat box? Ask the question, what's your greatest fear when entering into a relationship, or what's your greatest fear about being in a relationship? Folks, I will share with you my greatest fear. My greatest fear is letting someone down, not being enough, not being able to support someone, not being able to take care of someone. That's my greatest fear in relationship. And I will tell you, on some level, that might sabotage the way I operate when dating, because I'm afraid I will get rejected later on down the road. So this fear is almost like a shield to protect me. By holding on to the fear, it blocks me from opening up to someone at a deeper level. It's not that I want to do this, I'm just aware that this is something within myself. And so when we start to, ideally, you have to choose someone who's willing to go into the sandbox with you and talk about these things. This is just my perception. Not everybody is capable of this. Maybe 80% of the population isn't capable of going this deep. I don't know what that is. I just know for myself, I'm willing to not vomit my emotions and feelings and fears and floodlight them with so much that it's going to cause them to run away. But I'm here to say that I'm aware that my greatest fear is letting someone down. And I suspect that might be for a lot of men. I think one of the reasons why men treat women poorly in the romantic sense is we're driven by our penises to want to create a physical connection. But at the end of the day, we might not feel, for lack of a better word, man enough to support the container of the relationship. And a lot of men don't even know what the container of the relationship looks like. For me, the container of a relationship was go to college, get a job, meet someone, get married, buy a house, start a family. That was the container, and that worked great until I turned 40. Then it all collapsed. Lost my high-end corporate job, got wiped out in the market crash of 2008, and went through a divorce. My identity was pummeled. And so this fear that I have was birthed out of deep pain. It's not that I want to have this pain. And I've done so much work over and over again to heal. And healing is an ongoing process. The self-love piece that I talk about in my book, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? A Journey of Personal Development, Self-Help, and Spiritual Work, a link below to get a copy of my book. This is an ongoing process for me, partially because I have scripts growing up from my childhood that told me I was worthless. And then certainly going through that upheaval in my life caused me to think I'm not worthy of love. How many of you feel that way? How many of you deep down feel like you might not be worthy of love? This might be a common theme. I'm not good enough. And dating and relationships trigger our stuff like nobody's business. Dating and relationships trigger our stuff like nobody's business. Lori just points out, I just ended a relationship with someone who just stopped communicating with me, stopped texting and calling. Clearly, he was not interested, could not end it himself. So I did. A lot of this pain that we men and women experience is because we weren't trained. We weren't properly trained in our lives to be in relationship. It's like a muscle. It's a skill we need to learn. And so understand that most men are good guys. We don't intentionally want to hurt someone. This is a byproduct of scripting in our childhood, our childhood wounds and adult traumas. And again, coming back to the question, how do I know someone is emotionally mature and honest? Because they speak from the heart. They're willing to talk about the difficult questions, and they're willing to lean into it with you. And that would be a good sign. Is this sinking in? Is this resonating with you? Please let me know. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Post a comment below. I do my best to read them all in the first 24 hours. And if you found value in what I just shared, please hit that like button. I'd really appreciate it. Okay.